If you don't use your business to develop personally, you won't make it as an entrepreneur. Now, that's a major truth bomb from my client, Kendra Perry. Kendra is one of the leaders in the 2020 Thought Leader Collective. And as part of this very special series, I am so excited to introduce her to you, and soon you will see why. Join me and Kendra for a fun and F-bomb filled conversation where we will tell you what other people aren't telling you about what it takes to build a successful business. In this episode, you'll learn why failure has to be part of the process, how your inferiority complex is getting in the way of your success, the importance of viewing your failures as a detached observer, how adopting the resilient survivor avatar will help you create longevity in your leadership, and 4 major brain blocks that are holding you back and what you need to do to overcome them. Kendra is a former multiple 6-figure functional health coach turned online business strategist for health and wellness practitioners. She is on a mission to stop health coaches from being broke as fuck by helping 100,000 coaches build booming businesses in the next decade. She has currently helped 200 plus health coaches grow their practices, attract consistent clients, and blow up their bank accounts. Kendra is the creator of the groundbreaking Health Coach Accelerator method, which turns scared, scattered, and self-conscious coaches into confident, focused, and high-performing health entrepreneurs. She is also the founder of the Profitable Group System, which teaches coaches to scale their income and impact with online group coaching programs. Kendra has been featured in Arianna Huffington's Thrive Global, CEO Blog Nation, and Authority Magazine for her expertise on sales. When she isn't getting fired up about business and marketing, you will find her indulging in her love of adrenaline sports in the remote mountains of beautiful British Columbia, Canada. This is a super fun conversation that's going to help unveil the truth about who you need to be to step into entrepreneurship. So be sure to listen to the whole episode. Now, if you want more information on how you can be one of the 10 leaders in the 2021 Thought Leader Collective, head to rubyfremon.com/TLC and grab all the details there. And if it feels aligned and you're excited to be a part of this, hit apply and get your application to me ASAP. Now, whether you're new to the podcast or a loyal thought leader, please take a moment right now to download a few episodes and drop a rating and review on iTunes. And if you have any future episode topic suggestions, text me 1-781-336-0160. Now it is time to learn about the truth that people aren't telling you about entrepreneurship with Kendra Perry. Hey, thought leaders, I am back. And this episode is another episode that's part of a very, very special series where I'm interviewing and speaking with very, very special leaders who have been part of the 2020 Thought Leader Collective. And today's guest is super special because 1, she's a fellow Canadian, and 2, we seem to have very similar senses of humor, and 3, she is a fellow projector in human design. So welcome to the show, Kendra. I am so excited to see where our conversation goes today.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited to be here too, because this is how I first found you before the Thought Leader Collective, was nerding out hardcore for 3 days on your podcast.
Wait, did I know this?
I don't know. I literally listened to it. I somehow found your podcast, listened to an episode, and I was like, whoa. And then listened to 3 more episodes and then applied to be in the Thought Leader Collective. It was super fast.
Okay. This is news to me. I don't think I knew this.
Yeah, it was crazy. There was there was one touch point and I was like, I'm in, I like this girl.
And I feel like I remember you saying in our first call, I don't even really know what this is about, but I'm in. I feel like you said something along those lines.
Yeah, totally. I was like, I don't even understand what we're doing, or I don't understand what this is about. I don't even really get what this is, but I'm in. I just want to be a part of it.
I feel like some of that might be the Canadian energy. And for my fellow Canadians who are listening in, because I know there's a lot of you, because I checked the stats, we just have a tendency to find each other no matter where we're at, right? Because we're cool
I
people.
agree. Yeah. And in online business, there's so many Americans, right? So
Yeah.
anytime I get a Canadian, I'm like, oh, hey, what's up? So want to be friends?
Yeah. Want to be friends? Eh? Let's do this,
Yeah.
eh? Well, one of the things that I really love about you is, well, you really know your shit when it comes to business. That's no surprise. And for any of our listeners who are already familiar with you, you really know your shit. And I love your delivery because you also are blunt as fuck and you
Yeah.
just say it how it is. And I think that that's really refreshing because people need to hear it in this way. I think there's too many people out there preaching about business, telling people to quit their jobs, telling people to go after their dreams, and they make it seem so shiny and fun and like everything's great. But we know as seasoned
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurs that it's not all rainbows, butterflies, unicorns, and positivity. There's a lot of shit that we
Yeah.
go through.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
um, why don't we first, I first want people to hear like what what caused you to make the shift from being a health coach to supporting health coaches and building thriving businesses.
Yeah, it's a good question. So, I built my health coaching business for about 4 or 5 years. And when I first started my business, I also got a position at Functional Diagnostic Nutrition, which is like a certification program. I
Mm-hmm.
certified through them and then they hired me. And they ended up bringing me on eventually. I started as a course mentor, so I was helping students go through the course. And then they had me start their postgraduate membership program.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the director. And as a part of that, we had to do business trainings. And I ended up doing a lot of those business trainings. I would sort of research and I would use the experience that I was having to teach it to the practitioners, the graduates. And I just really loved it. And I got really jazzed up about it. And I
Mm-hmm.
felt it was really easy and it really flowed. And I just ended up having a lot of people, in the Facebook group asking me business questions, and in some of the mentoring calls, a lot of business questions would come my way. And when I quit that position 3 years later, I felt really empty. And I was like, oh my God, I really miss working with practitioners and I miss teaching the business. And it sort of made me realize that I was significantly more passionate about
Mm-hmm.
the actual building of the health coaching business versus the actual health coaching,
Mm-hmm.
even though I did enjoy that. And I love all my health coaching clients out there. But I just realized that there's very little education in business as a health coach, right? You learn how to be a health coach, but they don't really teach you how to build a business.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them have no idea what they're doing. And a lot of them didn't get into it to necessarily be an entrepreneur. They wanted to
Mm-hmm.
help people first. It took me a year into my health coaching business to even realize that I was a business owner or an entrepreneur.
Right.
I remember it just clicked one day and I was like, weird, how did that happen?
Yeah.
And so I just saw so many of my colleagues struggling and I realized I could help. And there's some nuances with health and wellness. So I figured it would be a good niche for me. So I switched over, and I mean, I didn't even see a shift in like client load. It just happened really easily and seamlessly. So I knew I was on the right track.
I love that. And there's so many similarities with health coaching and life coaching too.
Mm,
Cause I went through a life coaching certification and it was really actually phenomenal. I recommend it to a lot of people. And at the same time, there's very little touch point on the business.
yeah.
And so I found myself afterwards seeking out business coaches and programs, like trying to build that skill as well. But then there's like this whole other skill or muscle that we need to
Mm,
develop that not enough people develop, which is the mindset.
yeah.
Because building a business, in my opinion, is like the biggest journey of mind fuckery we
Yeah.
can never put ourselves through.
Yeah.
And so you were saying this just before we hit record, like it's a personal development journey. And I'd love for you
Mhm.
to share more about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I think people are quite surprised with and don't even necessarily pick up right away when they're starting a business, because they're just like, sweet, I need strategy. I can start a Facebook page and start telling people I'm doing my thing and people will come. And it's not really how it goes. And I don't think what people realize is that business is very much a test, right? You can't
Mhm.
pre-make a perfect business behind the scenes and just kind of throw it out there to the world. it's a lot of throwing spaghetti at the wall and
Mm-hmm.
seeing what will stick and then making decisions based on that. So I think the big issue that people come up against is that they are very emotionally attached to their
Mm-hmm.
business. It's their baby. They
Mm-hmm.
feel very passionate about it. They feel very connected to it. So when they have failure or things don't go the way they thought they would, it becomes this attack on self to some degree, right?
Mm-hmm.
It means something about them. They suck. They're a failure.
Right.
They're stupid. Why can't I figure this out?
Yeah.
And the other thing too, and I mean, I really noticed this, is it really unearths all your insecurities that you didn't
Mm-hmm.
even realize were still there. Like it brought up a lot of stuff for me from high school. You know, I'd put a new product out there into the world and suddenly I'd be high school Kendra who's worrying that, is anyone going to show up to my party? Like, are my friends actually going to come? Is anyone going
Mm-hmm.
to come? You know, because, you know, something I hadn't dealt with. So I really do believe that building a business is a big journey of figuring out who you are and
Mm-hmm.
how to work through your shit so you can show up better for your clients and also be present to actually build the business.
Yeah. And it's so true with the failures, right? Like we
Yeah.
attach so much meaning. Like if I fail, this means that I am XYZ.
Yeah.
If I fuck up, this means that I am XYZ. And all of which brings up all the insecurities, all the shit that you thought you probably once dealt with
Mm-hmm.
now come and slam you in the face.
Yeah.
Self-worth issues, self-esteem
Yeah.
issues, feeling not good enough, feeling like you're too much, feeling like you need to fit into a box, like all the things come out. And it's like we can have the perfect strategies, but if we're not being who we need to be to implement those strategies, then the strategies won't work. You know, it's kind of like, what was that movie where if you build it, they will come? I feel like some people will know this movie, Field of Dreams.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
yeah. Oh my
If
God.
you build,
That's
I
so
feel
long
like
ago.
so many people, right?
Yeah.
Was that the 90s?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so many people take that
Mm-hmm.
mindset. Like if I build it, they will come. If I build the Facebook page, they'll come. If I build the Instagram, people will come. If I announce my launch, everyone's going to buy
Mm-hmm.
it. But that's not the case. And
No.
so, what is the reality then?
Mm-hmm. The reality is it's hard as fuck. And it's a roller coaster and you're going to have days where you feel like, well, what the fuck am I doing? Like, why am I even doing this? I should just give up. And I mean, I still have days like that. I had a
Me
day like
too.
that yesterday and we talked about it.
Hmm.
So it's very much a roller coaster. It doesn't feel good all the time. And I think too, there's so much of not only having to, you know, love yourself and be confident in who you are, but you have to like know your voice. I know you talk a lot about this, like
Hmm.
finding your voice, because nobody wants to just be sold to all the time and nobody
Hmm.
wants to buy from someone who they don't know. But if
Hmm.
people are going to get to know you, you kind of have to know yourself and
Hmm.
know who you are, you know, in the online space.
Yeah.
So I think people don't realize like the leadership component of, you know, being a business owner and being an expert in your
Hmm.
field. And then just being able to be yourself, because I think there's a lot of fear of judgment, right? I think we
Hmm.
always fear that people are thinking something bad about us, or we're not smart enough, or we're not skinny enough, or
Hmm.
they think I'm stupid. And health coaches especially have this inferiority complex to like medical doctors because they're
Hmm.
unlicensed. So they always feel like they're trying to prove themselves, you know?
Right. Right. Yeah. And it's so, I think we all naturally play down our abilities, and it's true,
Mm-hmm.
like when we don't really fully trust ourselves or know ourselves, like how do we expect other people to get to know us?
Mm-hmm.
And you show up very unapologetically on
Mm-hmm.
social media. Was that always the case?
No.
So talk
So
to us about that.
yeah, I used to be that like health coach robot showing up, like talking like a textbook.
Hmm.
And I also had that inferiority complex because, you know, I wasn't a doctor. I
Hmm.
was just some chick who took a health coaching certification and I'm up there talking about all this stuff. And I was super passionate about it, but I was always worried that people wouldn't think I knew enough. And I
Hmm.
thought that in order for people to trust me and want to work with me, I had to be super smart and prove to them how intelligent I was.
Hmm.
So I was very, you know, unemotional, I didn't swear. I was very like proper, and that's not me. You know, if you hang out with me in real life, like I swear like a trucker, very
Mm-hmm.
blunt. I like to make jokes. Like it just wasn't me, and it didn't really feel good, but I thought that's how I needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually was pretty exhausting. Like I felt quite tired with it because I almost felt like I was like being two different people.
Yeah.
And one day I just was in kind of a funny mood and I did this video and my best girlfriend came on and I was talking about coffee enemas of all topics. And this video is actually on YouTube and it has like 10 or 15,000 views on it. Super embarrassing. But she was just on there making hilarious jokes and talking like we talk. So I was just
Mm-hmm.
kind of like bantering with her as she was saying these ridiculous things on this Facebook Live.
Mm-hmm.
And it just felt really good to just be silly
Mm-hmm.
and kind of be myself. And I sort of had an epiphany in that moment and realized, well, why don't I just be myself and see what happens? And initially I got a lot of hate because I started swearing and people were like, you have a potty mouth, you're unprofessional, like why do you
Mm-hmm.
talk like that, like have some class, that sort of thing. And it was kind of hard, but I sort of pushed through it because it just felt more authentic and it was easier. It was easy to just be myself and
Mm-hmm.
kind of put that humorous, blunt sort of spin on things. And since then, it's just, you know, it sort of just flowed naturally. And I don't really get as much hate anymore because I feel like people see me, they either like me or they don't. So
Right.
they're
Yeah.
gone.
You've weeded out the ones who are no longer aligned. Plus, you've probably
Mm-hmm.
attracted more aligned people into your
Yes.
community. And,
Yeah.
it's so easy to tell people, like, just be you, just be authentic, like, just show
Mm-hmm.
up. But it does take an understanding of who you are to be able to show up that way. Because, I mean, for me, it
Yeah.
was similar. Like, I showed up as that a life coach, who
Yeah.
was, I mean, I look back, I cringe when I see, like, in my Time Hop app, old videos that
Mm.
pop up, and I'm like super picture perfect, very still, not moving, just talking straight to the camera, very proper and polite, and using terms that I don't naturally use because I saw other famous life coaches using them,
Mm.
and it's just super cringy. But at that time, I actually still hadn't unlocked who I was. And I think the more
Yeah.
that I've gotten to know who I am, the more I continue to show who I am. But that, so much of that has been due to this journey in entrepreneurship and building a business. Like, this hasn't just been me doing personal development on the side. It's like business has pushed me in the direction of personal development. And I think it pushes everyone in that direction, but
Yeah.
some people choose to see it and some people don't.
Yeah, I think that's completely true. And I think the people, the really high achievers, the people who, you know, are really happy and successful in their businesses, like I think they've done the work. And I always find it interesting when I hear some of these higher level entrepreneurs like talk about spirituality and talk about personal development because I realize how necessary it is. But
Mm-hmm.
it's also an evolution and it's a progression. Like no one's going to figure it out overnight. And I
Mm-hmm.
needed to go through that whole kind of really uncomfortable time of figuring out who I was and not getting who I should be online and trying different things before I finally realized what felt good. And
Mm-hmm.
I think for anyone who's new to this, like it's okay if you don't know who you are yet, but if you want to figure it out, you can. And business is super helpful to help you
Mm-hmm.
get there. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, building a business is like a vehicle
Yeah.
to uncover who we are. And I'd love for you to expand more on that, on how business is actually a tool for personal development and in what ways specifically.
Yeah. I think part of it is that it's really uncomfortable, right?
Yes.
Like it's super uncomfortable and you can't build a business inside your comfort zone and
Mm-hmm.
nothing is a learn, like we're not born naturally good at these things. I mean, maybe like some of like the kids now who are born with all this technology, maybe they will just be naturally good at being on video. But
Right.
you know, for us, that's not true. Like we
Mm-hmm.
didn't have internet till, you know, 20s or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I think people get caught up in being, oh, I'm just not good at that. I'm just not naturally good at that. But really, they just have to learn it. And learning is uncomfortable.
Mm.
And that sitting in discomfort just brings up a lot of things. You know, it brings up the fear, the self-worth issues, and you get triggered a lot,
Mm-hmm.
right? If someone
Mm-hmm.
posts a negative comment online, you get triggered. And I remember spending like a week recovering from like a negative email that I
Mm-hmm.
got. And now I can see the email, feel crappy, and be good in an hour, you know?
Right. What did the email say?
Oh my gosh, I've had so many. I just used to have a lot of people be really offended by the way I talked, just because I was very blunt and I
Mm-hmm.
swore. And sometimes other practitioners didn't agree with my approach.
Right.
So I had a lot of like criticism in that way.
Yeah.
So I think if you don't use business to help you develop personally, I don't know if you'll make it in the
Mm.
entrepreneur space, because I don't know who says this or if I can even back this up by research, but I believe this is true, that it's like 80% mindset and
Mm-hmm.
20% strategy, right? The
Mm-hmm.
strategy part is easy, but it's actually being able to take action despite the discomfort and the fear,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it's always there when you do
Yep.
something new. And people who aren't willing to do that are much better off in like their 9 to 5. And that's totally cool. But if you
Yeah.
want to build a business, you really have to be comfortable doing a lot of things that are uncomfortable and doing a lot of things that are imperfect.
Mm.
Because if you are
Yeah.
a perfectionist, I don't know if you're going to make it either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I can attest to that. I had to get
Yeah.
over my perfectionism real quick
Mm-hmm.
because that was a huge block for me. And
Mm-hmm.
um, it is so uncomfortable to build these businesses. And I am on the same page with you on, if you're not using it to develop personally, like you won't make it. Like I'm a strong believer
Mm-hmm.
that entrepreneurship isn't for everyone.
Yeah,
Leadership
me too.
isn't for everyone. It's like, and more people need to understand that. Cause again, I think
Mm-hmm.
people are painting a picture of a fairy tale
Yeah,
and,
I agree. It's not.
it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the biggest block to this that people miss the mark on is the mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is the development of self, is the inner work.
Mm-hmm.
It's who you're being as you're building this business, leading your movement, building your community, your programs, your offers, your services, all those
Mm-hmm.
things. Um, and the mindset games never stop. Like I
Yeah.
still to this day deal with my own inner critic who can be a real bitch,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
a real bitch.
Yeah.
And like I've even shared with you all in Thought Leader Collective, like some of my insecurities that have come up. And it's so interesting because now I feel like at this stage of where I'm at, I'm more comfortable talking about those things. But when you're starting
Mm-hmm.
out, it's almost like you feel ashamed for
Yeah, there is a
feeling
lot of
that
shame.
way. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's something you probably see a lot with the people you work with.
Yeah, there's a lot of shame around not understanding the tech or how to do it right.
Mm,
And I find a lot of the clients I work with, they're very hard on themselves,
mm-hmm.
especially with the tech, especially with, social media and stuff like that. And they're like, well, no one likes me, or I'm so stupid, I can't figure this out. And I'm just like,
Right.
well, do you think someone is stupid who's learning a new
Yeah.
skill? No, right? Like I would never call you stupid because you don't know how to ride a bike on your second day or whatever,
Right.
right? But I find they're just so hard on themselves. And there's a lot of like, I'm stupid, I can't do this. And I work with a lot of women, which is interesting to me because I see this a lot in women. And for some reason, I feel like men sort of know they're going to fail and they can kind of just push through, but
Mm-hmm.
women take it so personally and everything
Mm-hmm.
is like a personal attack on themselves. And
Mm-hmm.
they feel a lot of shame over, I can't make it work, or I'm not making the money, or, I suck on social media, I'm not doing as good as her.
Right.
So there's a
And
lot
and
of
then they make
that.
it mean something about them, right?
Yeah.
And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, the personal attacks. Like even
Yeah.
they read someone else's Instagram post, and maybe this is you listening. You read someone else's Instagram post, and it feels like a personal attack,
Yeah.
and you take it super personally, and then
Yeah.
you react, or then you shut down, and then you get
Mm-hmm.
overwhelmed, and everything feels so hyper personal when you are attaching like your worth
Mm-hmm.
and your meaning to the outcome versus like seeing failure and fucking up as part of the journey. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
going to happen. I
And it
remember,
has to happen.
yeah, it has to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Has to, hands down. Like
Mm-hmm.
I created this when I did my first Amplified Soul live event. I did this whole mantra thing that we did at the end where we did these incantations, and the lines were like, you will fuck up, you will fail, you
Mm-hmm.
will fall down, and you will
Yeah.
get back up. Like, but people fail to see this or recognize
Mm-hmm.
this piece. And um yeah, like let's talk about failure for a
Mm.
minute, because I think this needs to be talked about more in our business.
Yeah, I think people don't take action because of the fear of failure, right? And they
Mm-hmm.
don't let themselves succeed because they're afraid to fail.
Yeah.
But I mean, success is really just a series of failures that eventually stop becoming failures because you failed enough times that you know how to what to do next. And you know, I'd like people to really take a place of sort of like the detached observer, because
Mm-hmm.
really failure is just information. It's just like something that happened, it didn't go the way you wanted it to, so why?
Mm-hmm.
Like you kind of have to just like detach from that outcome and look at it and be like, okay, like I launched this thing, I didn't get the signups I wanted, what didn't go right, and how can I sort of reverse engineer this and figure out, you know, was I not clear enough? Was it the wrong time? Like, did I not give them enough notice? Was the pricing off? Like, there's so many reasons why people don't buy, because there's so much psychology as to why people buy. And so with failure, I really encourage my clients and students to just take a step back and just kind of detach from it and just like look at all the amazing information that you got from the failure. And really the success of doing anything in business is kind of just doing it,
Mm-hmm.
because then you're better off. You have the information, whether you decided that it was a positive outcome or a negative, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. I mean, every single failure teaches you something. It teaches you what not to do and perhaps what to do. And so failure
Mm-hmm.
becomes these like stepping stones on how to build it the way you want. And um, you're never going to know if you like doing something a certain way unless you do it. You know,
Yeah.
I think I was like super blessed to have a dad that would force us to try everything, like food wise. Like he would be like, just try this. And I'd be like, I don't want to eat that, Dad. It looks disgusting. Just try it. How do you know you don't like it if you don't try it? And I don't know if your parents are like that, but like my dad drilled that into me. But I took that into everything I do. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
how am I going to know if this is the right program for me to
Mm-hmm.
launch if I don't launch it? How am I going to know if this is the right way to use social media if I'm not going to do it? And so I have built my business on a series of failures and fuck
Mm-hmm.
ups, and
Yeah.
some of which can be pretty cringeworthy, but
Oh yeah. I got
I'm
lots of those too. You know, and it's funny that your dad made you eat like weird food, and my dad forced me into competitive sports, right?
oh,
I was forced into like basketball, soccer, taekwondo. I was like almost a black belt in taekwondo. I competed
wow.
in moguls. I did all these things and adrenaline sports, and so I was always uncomfortable
Yeah.
constantly. And you know, so I'm used to being uncomfortable. I've
Hmm.
always kind of liked uncertainty and adventure, and so that has really helped me in business. And I think for me, learning how to be a better coach was realizing that not everybody has that.
Yeah.
Because when I first started out, I was like, well, just do it. Like, why
Yeah.
aren't you just doing it? Like, I just gave you the strategy,
Hmm.
fucking do it. Why aren't you doing it? And that's when I really realized that there's all this mindset stuff that comes with starting a business that I wasn't fully aware of in the
Yeah.
beginning. Yeah.
What are some of the mindset traps that you wish you knew at the beginning that you know now that you want to pass on to our listeners?
um, One is actually victimhood.
Ooh, yes. I love this
Yeah,
topic.
I know, me too. Because, and I see this in people, and I remember being in this space. So I don't want
Hmm.
to shame anyone who might realize that they're in this space, but
Yes. And I was
just
there too, just to be clear.
totally.
I was there for a long time, and I can still find myself having pity parties.
Yeah. It's okay to have a pity party, but it just can't last forever.
Right.
And it can't drive your business decisions. But just this feeling of like not having control, or like, oh, this just isn't working for me. And it's because of this. And
Hmm.
it's because like she has better branding, or it's because, you know, people, they just don't like my personality.
Right.
You know, it's kind of blaming on everything external to you and just not taking, personal or radical responsibility for your experience in business. And I mean, the truth is, it's 100% your choice. I believe success is a choice, and you can get there, but it requires the work, and you have to take ownership over the experience that you have in your business and the decisions you have. Yes, it's hard, but it's 100% your responsibility, and no one else can build your business but you. So if you're in that victimhood space, then I mean, I don't think, like, you got to get out of that. You got to shift that, because you have to be in a really strong, empowered, responsible place to be successful in business, for sure.
Yeah, you have to start owning your shit and taking responsibility for where you're at, for sure.
Yeah.
What's another mindset trap?
Ooh, I like to call these the brain blocks,
Oh,
because they just totally like block you.
Yeah.
But I think perfectionism, I never struggled too much with perfectionism, but it's one that I see in people all the time. You can, if you go through any of my content, you'll know that I don't have a perfectionism issue, because I have spelling mistakes and grammatical mistakes all over my stuff, and I don't care. I think I cared more in the beginning, but I know health coaches who will spend 3 weeks writing a blog post, before they post it. And that sort of imperfect action is really, really important, because I mean, perfection is a myth, right? And I think it comes from a deep social conditioning to please everyone, right? And to be everything to everyone. And if you try to be perfect because you can't be perfect, it's just, I think that's a big reason why people procrastinate and they don't take action, right? Is, they're just waiting for it to be perfect. But, you could wait till you're 80. Right.
And then who's the judge of what's perfect?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. The other one that really got me in the beginning, I call it egoism. I don't know if that's a word or if someone else.
Well, we're going to make it a word if it isn't.
Yeah, totally. And it's just like thinking that it's about you, the reason why I didn't get engaged is because people don't like me, or they think this about me, or, I think I like offended. I did this thing and it probably offended them, and making up all these stories about how it's kind of all about you. And it's not about you, right? Like, people don't have enough time or space to think about you at all, especially strangers on the internet.
Yeah.
Like, your family and friends are barely thinking about you. Like, you think about you, they think about them. And so I think just realizing that it's not all about you, it's about how the content or your presence is affecting them. Right. So I think you got to kind of check your ego.
Not everything is about you.
Yeah, totally.
I used to do that. Sometimes I still do. When I'm having those days and then I like see something and I'll be like, why don't they like me?
Yeah.
And I remind myself, right? Especially during launches and enrollments, and you just got to remind yourself, like, it's not about you. Just tone it down a notch.
Totally. Maybe there's so many reasons why people wouldn't buy during a launch, right?
Right.
Like, busy, money, like getting distracted, like
not the right fit.
Yeah, not the right fit, like COVID.
Yeah. A million and one reasons.
Yeah. And it's not just about you. And I think it's hard to not like internalize everything.
Yeah. So we've got like victimhood, perfectionism, egoism. Are there any other brain blocks that you think stand out?
Yeah. I mean, I think we've mentioned it, but self-worth, right? Like having like low self-worth, low valuation of yourself, and just thinking you're not worth it. And I think how that manifests in business is underpricing, undercharging, working. It's funny. Sometimes when I have worked with clients, we've done the math and I'm like, so you're working for $7 an hour when all is said and done. And they're like, oh, I'm like, this isn't sustainable.
Right. Yeah.
So I think, that thinking you're not good enough, or who am I think that imposter syndrome can come in a lot and play a part in feeling like a fraud, or feeling like someone else is better than you, or you're not good enough to be there offering up the information, or not worthy of somebody investing their money and time in you. Right.
Yeah. And that one's huge, because I remember when I was first starting out, this was one of those like traumatic experiences in business where when I first started coaching, I was doing free calls like all the time. Like, I was just offering free calls because, one, I wanted to build my skills as a coach, and two, I just wanted to put my services out there
Mm-hmm.
and have people experience me, which by the way is a great tactic for projectors.
Right.
Then I started charging, and I'm pretty sure it was like 111 was the price tag, because back then I was all
111.
like
Ooh,
doing
yeah.
the angel numbers because that's what I thought was
Mm.
cool. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I did 111 for I think it was like a 1 hour call, and I put that out on my page, and I was attacked by this woman who like really took it personally and said that I was taking advantage of
Ooh.
people who were at their worst and like a horrible human being. And because I was so early on in this work, my worth wasn't at a place where I'd created like a stable foundation. And so
Oh my
I
gosh.
allowed that to rock me. And I was like, oh my God, like I shouldn't be charging. Like, why am I charging? Who am I to charge?
Yeah.
Like, and I spiraled, and it took a
Yeah.
really good talk with my coach. Plus, I think it was like a week of crying for me
Oh
to like
yeah.
get out of that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I really understood, like, I need to get myself into a place where I feel so good that when people come at me in this way, I can stand and weather that storm.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the piece that I feel people don't understand is like the trolls don't stop coming. People are
Yeah.
don't stop hating. You're going to still
Mm-hmm.
get attacked.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you have to get yourself to a place where you really truly feel worthy. You feel confident. You're convinced of your gifts,
Yeah.
because people are going to come. I mean, I'm sorry to say, people are going to come at you. People are coming at me today for posting what's on my mind.
Yeah, you got to be bulletproof AF, right?
Yep. And that's a skill within
Mm-hmm.
itself, and it's a skill that if you're going to be an entrepreneur, especially online,
Mm-hmm.
that is a skill you need to develop, and develop ASAP.
Yeah. Yeah. I like to call that like the resilient survivor avatar. Cause
Mm.
I feel like there's certain avatars that people need to kind of cultivate in order
Mhm.
to like survive in the online world.
Mhm.
And because it's true, you have to learn how to be really resilient and just pick yourself up. It's okay to fall down. We're all going to do it. Like I still sometimes cry in the fetal position on the
Mhm.
floor, or I get into my car and scream like a banshee because I'm
Yeah.
frustrated. But you got to bounce back,
Yeah.
because otherwise it can take you out for so long, and that
Mhm.
can really affect your professional life, your business, but also your personal life and your mental health, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely mental health. I mean,
Yeah.
our businesses impact our mental health so much because we wrap up the meaning and the worth into it.
Yeah.
And that's why, we see so many people in entrepreneurship dealing with anxiety
Mm-hmm.
and depression. It's because you're wrapping so much of your meaning of who you are into the
Yes.
success of your business. And that's not how it should be.
Yeah, and it's also very fleeting, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you've experienced like hitting like a monetary goal. You feel
Yeah.
good for like an hour.
Right.
And you're like, well, what's next?
Yep.
Because it doesn't last, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's true with like success in business. Like it's not going to make you happy. It's going to give you some dopamine for
Mm-hmm.
a short amount of time, but there's got to be a bigger reason why you're doing it, I think.
Definitely. There has to be a bigger why that's driving you, and not
Mm-hmm.
just like the bottom line or the bottom dollar or the numbers. That there has
Yeah.
to be something really purposeful that is actually driving you,
Mm-hmm.
to keep you grounded and rooted in why you're doing what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you just end up chasing numbers,
Yeah.
and
And
that's
I've done
not
that.
fulfilling.
I
I've
did
done
that
it
for
too.
a lot of my business because I'm very motivated by money and I like money.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Which, by
that's
the
what I
way, is
noticed.
okay. Like
Yeah, and
everyone, it's a good
you need
thing.
it.
Yes.
Exactly. And
Yes.
you need to value money, I think, to be an entrepreneur. There needs to
Of
be
course we do.
otherwise, like, what are you doing? Right. You
Yeah.
gotta
You have a
like
hobby.
just yeah, and you just undercharge and let people take advantage of you, right?
Yeah.
But it just can't be the only thing.
Yeah, exactly. There's got to be purpose to it. There's got to be
Mm-hmm.
something that holds meaning, something that you're passionate about, something that's
Mm-hmm.
going to drive you on those days when you are curled up in fetal position, crying your eyes out because everything seems to be moving against you, because
Yeah.
that's going to happen.
Yeah, and especially in the beginning, right? In the beginning, you're literally just punching a brick wall,
Yes.
and you will feel like that. And there's no way to make that not happen, like you will have to spend a time like feeling like you're on a hamster wheel, feeling like you're talking to a wall, like posting on social media and no one's responding. Like that's a part
Mm-hmm.
of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a bad thing. It's kind of just part of the journey. Obviously you don't want that to go on forever, but
Right.
I mean, I think it takes a year of being online and being consistent and knowing who you're talking to in order to really start to gain traction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I second that. And I think like there's this weird progression that can happen with business too, right? It's like 1 year you kind of learn a lot of what doesn't work. And then 2 years, you start to step more into who you are and start to find your voice. 3 years, usually people like destroy everything and recreate.
Yep.
And then in year 4 is like when you really kind of find your groove. And so wherever you are in that journey, just know like you have a sense of control, and a lot of that is held in your mindset. Like you have control over your mind, you have control over your thoughts, you have control over how you choose to feel, how you choose to react and respond every single minute of every single day. It's okay to have pity parties and cry in fetal position, but what are you going to do after that?
Yeah.
And how long are you going to do that for?
Yeah. And I think that's actually a big lesson I've learned in 2020 is that I have control over my thoughts. And really, it's one of the few things I have control over.
So, especially in 2020.
Yes.
But that could be a whole other episode for a whole other day.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So Kendra, it's been like really awesome to have you as one of the leaders in the Thought Leader Collective. And I think our listeners and those viewing this will agree, like there is this similar vibe between us, which is really cool. Because I don't meet people like me often who throw flying fucks out in the air and like can talk about conspiracy theories and like all the things, and it's just fun. But you've also you have given so much of yourself to the collective, and your energy and your presence has contributed so much to why our 2020 collective is what it is. And I would just love for you to share a little bit about what your experience has been as a leader in the Thought Leader Collective this year.
Yeah. So I was definitely nervous going into it because I'm kind of a lone wolf. Maybe it's a projector thing, but sometimes we always feel like we're a little bit different. Maybe no one really understands us, and so I've run my business. I have a few business besties, but I don't have a lot of like connections online. And that has been challenging because I'm so passionate about this and no one in my real life like knows what the fuck I do. They're like, oh, how's that hobby of yours? Like they have no idea that I run this company. And so, but I knew I needed it. So coming into Thought Leader Collective, I think the best experience for me has been the community and the people. I feel very safe and very supported and loved inside that community. And I don't think that's something I have felt often in like a group setting like that. I find in real life, I have a lot of friends, but I'm better one-on-one. I get a little bit overwhelmed in the group, and it's just been a really good experience because I feel very supported. I feel like I can bring up anything. And even when it's really uncomfortable and maybe I don't even necessarily want to bring it up, like I know it will always be received well.
Like this week.
Like this week, I was like, I should just like fake my wins and say that everything's awesome. And I was like, I just can't. I'm like, I can't lie to you guys. I hate today. So I think that's been amazing. And I feel like I've been really propelled forward to see everyone else's success and how much they work on their shit. Because it motivates me to work more on my shit. And we all have a lot of shit.
Yes,
we need to work on. And obviously I love working with you. I feel really connected to you. And like I did from the beginning when I heard the podcast, like it was an instant, like there's something about this chick that I like. And and obviously like we connect on conspiracy, and that's like so meaningful.
Oh my God. Yeah, everything you said. And it's just like, I want to mirror that even for me to see all of
Mm-hmm.
you working on your shit all the time. Like
Mm-hmm.
it propels me deeper into my devotion to work on my shit. So thank you so much for just being part of the first
Mm-hmm.
ever Thought Leader Collective and for sharing a bit about your experience. And as we're closing out this episode, I would love for you to drop a final thought for our listeners, something to sum up this conversation, something that you want to leave them with.
Yeah. So I would just say, I would love to leave some words of encouragement that you can fucking do it. You can do it, and you're amazing, and I believe in you. And if you truly want to be successful in your business, just take away the backup plan. Just make it your only option and just keep moving forward.
Love that. Yeah. And if you need to repeat that part, just hit rewind. Play it as many times as you need to. Kendra, thank you so much for sharing your presence on today's Thought Leader. I really, really appreciate you. And I can't wait till the day that we get to hug in person, hopefully at our second retreat when the borders reopen.
On January 1st.
And to our listeners, thank you so much for joining me and Kendra on today's Thought Leader, where we are challenging you to rise up, speak up, and create a movement. Again, this episode is part of a special series where I'm featuring the leaders in the 2020 Thought Leader Collective. If you want more information on how you can become one of the 10 leaders in the 2021 collective, head to rubyfremon.com/TLC and apply today. That link and more will be in the show notes. If you liked this episode between me and Kendra, then please share it with a friend. Hopefully a friend who doesn't mind that we threw a bunch of fucks in here.
This is a safe place for fucks.
This is a safe place. And drop a rating and review on iTunes. And then if you have any questions for Kendra or myself, or you want to connect or just say hi, please reach out to us on social media. My handle is at I am Ruby, and Kendra is at Kendra Perry Inc. And those links will also be in the show notes. Thanks, everyone. I will see you back here next Monday for a brand new episode of Today's Thought Leader.